All right, guys, here we go. This one's going to, I think, be a little bit shorter. These are quadrantal angles, which if you remember back, quadrantal angles I mentioned, I think in the first note, are the angles that end right on the axis. 0, 90, 180, 270, 360, which 0 and 360, remember, are coterminal angles because they're the exact same angle. I could just keep going. If I keep adding 90, 450, 540, and so on and so on and so on, if we just keep adding 90, these are our quadrantal angles. When you have these quadrantal angles, there's no more drawing triangles except for this one triangle, and here it is. Think about this. If I'm moving this way, I'm moving by the x. Like if my ordered pair is 3, 4, I'm moving x direction 3, and then I'm moving y direction 4. So this is my y, and this is actually considered r because it's the radius of this circle here. What we're going to do is this is really called the unit circle. The only time we go to the unit circle is when we have quadrantal angles. And the radius is always equal to 1. So this r up here is always going to be equal to 1. So now we're going to get into specific angles with trig functions. So this is kind of like the beginning of real trig here, not just your basic trig. So if I say, well, first of all, sine of theta. So if I use this triangle right up here, the sine of theta is opposite, here's my theta, opposite over hypotenuse. The opposite is y, and the hypotenuse is r. But r is always going to be 1. So it's always going to be y over 1. So sine is just the y value. If you can remember that with quadrantal angles only. This is only with quadrantal angles. Any other angle, if we're in a quadrant, we're drawing a triangle. These are angles that we can't draw a triangle because we're landing on the quadrants. Okay, let's look at sine. If I do sine, cosine. We just did sine. So if I do cosine, cosine is adjacent, which is x, over hypotenuse. Again, r is 1, so the cosine is just the x value. If you remember that, that'll be a lot easier. Sine is just the y value. Cosine is just the x value. Or every time you can do your y value over 1, your x value over 1, whatever you want to do. For tangent, we don't have a little bit of a shortcut. Tangent is opposite over adjacent, so if we look up at our triangle, it's y over x. Nothing I'm going to be able to do with that. It's our y value over our x value. And then, of course, we have the reciprocal functions. We just take the reciprocal of all these things. Okay, so keeping that in mind, this is kind of your template. When you're seeing quadrantal angles, 360, 90, negative 180, that's going to be thinking unit circle, unit circle. So let's take a look at them, a couple of them. If I say the sine of 180 degrees, I draw a picture. I graph it. 180 degrees is right here. There's no way I can draw a triangle. If I say out from the origin to the x-axis, I'm not drawing anything. I'm drawing a line. So I'm right here. So the reason why we call it a unit circle is unit means 1. Unit is 1. So this circle up here has a radius of 1. So all of these ordered pairs, let's think about it. If I'm going a distance of 1, this ordered pair is negative 1, 0. So guess what? Negative 1 is my x value. 0 is my y value. So again, what is sine? Well, if we go up to our triangle, this is y, this is x, this is radius. The sine of 180 is our y value, which is 0, over radius. Radius is always 1. 0 divided by anything, our answer is 0. Which, remember, I told you, sine is just the y value. I could have just looked at the answer and got 0 immediately. Remember this little phrase, why do I sin? 'Cause of my x's. Do you get that? Why do I sin? 'Cause, think of cosine, 'cause of my x's. Sine It's just the y value, and I know I'm saying sin, but I mean sine there. Cosine is just my x value, if you remember that little phrase. Okay, so let's try cosine. Cosine of negative 90 degrees. Drawing the picture. Negative 90. I start here, I rotate down, I'm right here. I land right on the coordinate axis. Here's my radius, or here's my circle. This distance is 1, so this ordered pair is 0, negative 1. You're really going to have to know those ordered pairs. You don't want to write those wrong, because otherwise you're going to get every single one of these wrong. So cosine of 90, cosine is x over r. X here, here's my x, here's my y. And I'm only looking at this ordered pair because that's where negative 90 is. So my x is 0, radius is always 1. Again, 0 divided by 1, we get 0. Well, we could have known that because cosine is just the x value, just the x value. Let's do a tangent. Tangent of 180 degrees. 180, I'm over here. The ordered pair in the unit circle is negative 1, 0. This one I can't do a shortcut and just say it's an x value or a y value. But tangent is y over r. Here's my x, here's my y. So it's 0 over negative 1. Oh, I'm sorry, I did that wrong. Tangent is y over x. If you come back up here to this triangle right here, tangent is opposite over adjacent. So y over x, 0 over negative 1. Oh, we get 0 again. Yes, just by chance, all of these are 0 so far. I've just picked ones that are all 0. Okay, let's try a secant. Let's do secant of 360. So in my mind, I think, okay, where am I? 360. I go around, I'm right here. What's the ordered pair there? 1, 0. So now I think to myself, secant is the reciprocal function of cosine. So let's think, what is the cosine of 360? The cosine of 360 is just the x value, or you could say x over r, 1 over 1. So the cosine of 360 is 1. But since it's secant, we have to take the reciprocal. So the reciprocal of 1, well, this is 1 over 1. What's the reciprocal of 1 over 1? 1 over 1. Answer is 1. So with secant, you think, what's the cosine? And then take the reciprocal. Let's look at cosecant. Cosecant of, let's do negative 180. I draw my triangle, or draw my picture. Negative 180 is right here. So I'm right here. My ordered pair is negative 1, 0. Cosecant, I'm thinking sine, and then I got to take the reciprocal. So let's see, what is the sine of negative 180? Sine is y over r, or just the y value. The y value is 0. So the sine of negative 180 is 0. Think of it as 0 over 1. What is the reciprocal of 0 over 1? Reciprocal of 0 over 1 is 1 over 0, but that is undefined. So the answer is undefined. All of these quadrantal angles, you're either going to get an answer of 1, negative 1, 0, or undefined. Those are the only answers you're going to get for all of these unit circles. So again, let me just sum it up. Sine with a quadrantal angle is y over r. Cosine is x over r. Tangent is y over x. And then you have the reciprocal functions. You can flip those. You're always referring back to this triangle. Okay? Good luck. Now you can do the first section of Math Excel.